Hi folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. This essay, I'd like to talk about how the injunctions against the President Trump are being used. I mean, President Trump is the most, there is no president that has had so many injunctions against them to disrupt their policy platform and obstruct it and hinder it. No president has had this many injunctions, and the number of injunctions against, just in the first year of the Trump administration is equal to, in some instances, all the injunctions that have ever been placed against, 3 or 4 or 5 presidents, previously. So it's a huge upsurge in injunctions. Now, some of these people have been, they've put out columns and in various legal discussion groups or online or in legal journals, academics making public pronouncements, and lawyers, prosecutors, lawyers for NGOs and so on. And they appear to be all in the same script, which shows how coordinated it is. But I was watching one getting interrogated by or questioned by a Senate committee, and there's a number of them, and she's quite clearly a brazen activist, there's no question, but in this instance she says, well, these aren't really injunctions, like you sort of, we don't see it as an injunction, we just see Trump as an illegitimate, lawless president. So wait for this, an illegitimate, lawless president. Well, how can he be legitimate if the people voted for him? Well, the people who voted for him are Nazis. So we don't have to recognize his election because we say the people who voted for him are Nazis, therefore he's an illegitimate president. Oh, wow. I mean, you take this just upon yourself. Don't the laws and the Constitution of the United States mean something? Well, they do, but only if we agree with them. So, and this is a new attitude. It's a revolutionary attitude, and it is, I think, part of what we're seeing today around us is a revolution of sorts. Now, it's not the revolution where people run around with guns shooting everybody, although I wonder about that sometimes. But this is a revolution where the laws and the structure, the legal structure, the commonly accepted structure that whoever gets the most votes and electoral college votes wins the presidency and that type. That all this thing is all being dismantled, not in one hit, but gradually, and it's the death by 1,000 cuts type thing. So now, if we look at 2020, it's quite clear, and this has been shown by the recent raid in the Georgia electoral office, that Trump won and quite easily won that election as president, and the Republicans won a majority of senators. But the global leftists decided, well, there's 2 things we can't have: another Trump term of 4 years, and we can't have the Senate being in Republican majority hands, because they won't appoint activist judges, whereas we will, so the global Democrats. So we have to A, get the presidency, and B, get the Senate. So we rigged the election to the tune of many millions of votes to rig the election at state and as in the Senate election, and also the presidency, of course. And it's quite acceptable to do that because, and this was the argument they put out at the time, that, well, the people who voted for Trump are Nazis, so whatever votes he got aren't legitimate, don't count. And why would we allow Nazis to vote in a president? So they took that view. Remember, they get to decide who is and isn't a Nazi. And this was the attitude, and it's a common attitude, again, throughout all these articles, public pronouncements, the Senate committees Senate committees questioning legal practitioners and so on. And so when it comes to the actual injunctions, well, we're not actually impeding, a legitimate president. So we're not impeding legitimate operations of the presidency or the executive, because he's not really the president, because, again, Nazis voted for him, and in any way he's acting lawlessly. So we have to do injunctions because he's lawless. Nothing he does is legal, so we have to oppose it. And we're morally justified and morally superior, and they state this with great sanctimony, by the way, that when it's kind of not really an injunction. It's just we're stopping Hitler. That's really what it is. We're not letting Hitler do his stuff. So, and this is the attitude they take, and they're quite, they're shameless in this. But that's not. I mean, you say he's breaking the law, you're breaking the law. Well, yeah, but we do it for good reason. It's okay when we do it, and that's very much. These people have a sense of moral superiority so great that any person anywhere, be it a president, a political representative, or a private citizen, that doesn't agree with and fall fully in line with their views is a Nazi, thus an illegitimate human being, or an illegitimate citizen, illegitimate voter, illegitimate president, and so on. And they're very much in this view, and they treat it as strange that other people don't agree with them. Well, if you don't agree with me, that means you're Hitler as well. What about you? Do you agree with me? You don't. You're Hitler as well. So there are hundreds of millions, many hundreds of millions of Hitlers everywhere, and these Hitlers are determined to be Hitler purely on the basis of you don't agree with the lesbian lawyer. Now this raises an issue of how do we define revolution in modern terms? Because if you're not adhering to the laws and the conventions of the society, such as electing a president and so on, having free and fair elections, having actual evidence before you accuse people of things, then isn't that a revolution of sorts? I mean, it is, because the law doesn't matter, facts don't matter, evidence doesn't matter, time-honored conventions don't matter. None of it matters, and none of it is relevant. So if you break the law, well, you're not really breaking the law. You're just making sure that the right sort of people are in charge, and you're preventing the Hitlers from being in charge. So actually, you're a good person. So you didn't really break the law. You just made sure that good people are being put. That's now. If the good people you want in government, then you should have policies that the public will vote for. No, not really, because the public is just too many Nazis in the public. So it's not incumbent on us to have policies that those people would vote for, because they're Nazis anyway. Don't you see? Why should we appeal to the Nazis? They're all Hitler. And so by using these mental gymnastics, and these are serious mental gymnastics, they can justify anything they want to do. They can rig any election. They can tell any untruth. They can get any injunction and go and treat the elected president as being illegitimate, because they have this capacity for insane levels of mental gymnastics. Now, as the interrogations went on, now if you look at one of the injunctions that I saw, among many, I mean, there's many crazy injunctions. One injunction was granted on the basis that the allegation was Trump wants to make America more white, and therefore we want an injunction against whatever the policy was. I think it was deporting some people, like deporting Somalis or Haitians or something like that. And so the judge, the activist judge, the Biden-appointed judge, grants the injunction on the basis that we say that this is illegal because Trump wants to make America white. Fuck, that's the basis for a fucking injunction. So the bar for injunction is like very, very low, and can be pretty much any allegation they want to make. And well, Trump once said that the people from Mexico, some of them are bad people. Oh, well, that's it. That's enough evidence. So again, the evidence bar is about zero. So we've got all these activist judges, and over 200 very activist judges were appointed during the Senate, Biden's era, the illegitimate, fully illegitimate, because the Senate wasn't majority Democrat, it was majority Republican, and the Democrats, the Globo Democrats, rigged the elections, Senate election, part of the 2020 election, so that they would have a majority for the sole purpose of them appointing activist judges. It was always a pre-planned move. So these people are unashamed, though. No, we've done nothing wrong. We've done nothing wrong. So we rig elections. We've done nothing wrong. So we rigged an election, but we stopped Hitler. So it's not like we've done something wrong. We rigged the Senate election. Yeah, but then we stopped the judges that Hitler would have put in. So again, we've done nothing wrong. well, you're putting in bullshit injunctions in without any evidence. Yeah, but we've done nothing wrong because we're stopping Hitler doing it, and so on. And this is the level of mental gymnastics. Now, some of the people that are interviewed, and you can find online interviews of people that say have posted papers online or done articles in magazines. If you hunt around, you can typically, and there's something is in common. They all seem like they're nearly all women, and there's very few that are not Jewish. Mostly Jewish lesbian females. That's really the majority. But they all have this same, and some Jewish gay men as well. But they all have this same. So they seem like children, like schoolgirls, in some schoolgirl debating team of, what's morally right to do. They just don't seem to be you wouldn't want these people making decisions about anything, but they think they have the high moral ground and the righteousness is just off the charts, the high moral ground to be doing this, and they don't perceive they're doing anything wrong. Now, if there's that many people in those sort of positions, as prosecutors, lawyers, NGO, there's that many people in those positions, are we looking at a situation where the revolution has actually already occurred and we're now trying to deal with the fallout? You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.